We're now heading to the grave of Tom Riddle, aka Lord Voldemort. So today we are going on a Harry Potter tour of Edinburgh. Now, I'm a Harry Potter fan, read all the books, saw all the movies. Ewan, on the other hand...
Yeah, I seem to miss the whole Harry Potter thing, so Romana introduced me to the films. I haven't read any of the books. And the films I did enjoy. I've got a few more to go. A lot of the places we're going to visit today were the inspiration for our books. So that's what we're going to do.
J.K. Rowling came up with the idea of Harry Potter in 1990 while sitting on a delayed train from Manchester to London. She then moved to Portugal, where she wrote the very first chapter of what was to become Harry Potter and the Philosopher's Stone. She subsequently moved to Edinburgh, where she completed the book in 1995, and a couple of years later it was published. Edinburgh became not only home for J.K. Rowling, but apparently a source of inspiration for the Harry Potter books. So behind me is the Belmor Hotel, and this is actually where J.K. Rowling came to finish the final book, to write the final book in the Harry Potter series, Harry Potter and the Deathly Hallows. Now, it is said that she actually stayed in this hotel for 6 months to complete the book. She didn't actually stay the night in the hotel. She would work in the hotel between 9 and 5 and then leave and go back to her house. I believe that the room was roughly about £600 a night, so that's a fair old amount of money, but if anyone can afford it, she can. Apparently there was a bust in the room where she wrote the book, and it was a bust of the god of Hermes. And as soon as she finished the book, she actually wrote on the underside of the bust in marker pen that this was where she finished the book. And apparently it's now in a glass cabinet on display in the hotel.
Behind me are the city chambers where J.K. Rowling came in 2008 and left something which is still here. We have J.K. Rowling's handprints when she received the Edinburgh Award.
We're now heading to the cafe where J.K. Rowling wrote the chapters of the first book. And it's now called Spoon, but back in the 90s it was called the Nicholson Cafe, and she would sit up there and write chapters of the book, and the cafe was actually owned by her brother-in-law. So that's where it all began. If you're visiting Edinburgh and you fancy trying butterbeer, then the Doghouse is the place to go for it. Unfortunately, because of COVID, we can't buy alcohol at the moment, but when we can, I am definitely going back there to try the butterbeer. It looks so good.
The great thing about this little tour is all the places are within walking distance of each other. As soon as you get into the city centre, you're talking like 5 to 8, 10 minutes to get to each place, so that's a bonus.
You may be wondering if the location that we're in now is what inspired Harry Potter's name, because we are in Potter Row. But actually, that is not what inspired his name. When J.K. Rowling was growing up, her next door neighbours were friends that she played with, and their surname was actually Potter. And also her favourite boy's name is apparently Harry.
The name's everywhere.
We're now outside the gates of George Heriot School, and this is one of the buildings that J.K. Rowling could see from the window of the Elephant House when she was writing Harry Potter, so perhaps it inspired Hogwarts because it's very, very similar. So the school was established in 1628 by a goldsmith called George Heriot, and it opens its doors in 1659. George Heriot actually donated a lot of money, £25,000, which in today's money is like several million pounds. And he wanted the school to be a school for poor children, and also children who were fatherless. That's what the school was to begin with. In the 1880s, the school did start charging fees. Now, I actually went to this school. This was my school, and it was brilliant. It still has a foundationer scheme whereby children who have lost one of their parents can receive free education. It's said that when J.K. Rowling was in Edinburgh, she would wander through Greyfriars Courtyard and look at the gravestones, and that gave her inspiration for a couple of the character names. So let's go and have a look.
We are at the grave of William McGonagall. You might recognise that name from the Harry Potter books. Professor McGonagall, played by Maggie Smith, that's it. William McGonagall is better known as the world's worst poet. Check him out.
We're now heading to the grave of Tom Riddle, aka Lord Voldemort. So you might notice that the spelling on this grave is slightly different to the name in the book, because in the book it's Riddle, R-I-D-D-L-E, whereas on this grave it's spelled this way, which would actually probably be pronounced Riddell. And the reason for that is that the anagram in the book wouldn't have worked if the spelling was that way. You wouldn't have got I am Lord Voldemort from the anagram. So hence they changed the spelling. It's pretty mad to think that this guy, his grave has become famous because of a book that was written that really had nothing to do with him. Loads of people now visit his grave every day, which is kind of weird. Unfortunately, the Elephant House is closed at the moment probably due to COVID. It's closed until further notice, which is a real shame, so we can't take you inside to have a look. But you can see from here, the back of the Elephant House does look right onto Greyfriars Courtyard and also George Heriot School. It's probably been a big inspiration for J.K. Rowling. No Harry Potter tour would be complete without a visit to Victoria Street. Built in 1829, this iconic Edinburgh thoroughfare has a magical charm that could be compared to a certain fictional alley. There are two Harry Potter themed shops opposite each other, both brimming with an eclectic mix of merchandise, from wands to magical quills, and other curious knickknacks. Museum Context has a real oldie-worldy feel and also features some very cool Harry Potter-inspired artwork. So that's us finished our Harry Potter tour, and we couldn't resist coming for a little coffee.
I hope you enjoyed a little tour. I've certainly enjoyed scratching the surface a bit more of the city that I live in.
Just a fun fact that the Harry Potter books are the most translated book next to the Bible in the whole world.
If J.K. Rowling can sit and be inspired by this city, you can too.